stand as one, walk with thousands.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bods Beards podcast. Today we've got a fun one. We have got Nick Bright here from War Trophy, which today's episode is brought to you by War Trophy. And the reason we are introducing them is War Trophy is one of our newest sponsors of the podcast, and one of the main reasons why we are going to be able to get out to Florida in June for that whole thing that we're putting on out there. We will get into Nick and introducing him and his story, but before we do, I wanted to read the... I was going to paraphrase this a little bit myself, but you're a writer, and this is like so well written that I'm just going to read it.
Well, thank you.
So War Trophy knows therapy comes in many forms. Sometimes it's a ruck. Sometimes it's a dark joke only your squad would laugh at. A veteran-owned brand built for those who fight their demons with sarcasm, grit, and gear that was built for quality. Apparel for the mentally questionable. I like that, mentally questionable. I feel like that almost like perfectly describes you and me.
Oh, 100%. I was like, that's me this past 6 months. It's just like some roller
mentally
coaster.
questionable.
Oh, roller coaster's putting it lightly, right?
Yeah. So before we have you introduce yourself, Nick, War Trophy is going to, like I said, is going to be one of the main sponsors that's helping us get all the way out to Florida.
And we just found out that they're going to, get you your mermaid suit.
Oh my gosh, you and the dang mermaid.
Dude, it's happening.
If it's not a mermaid suit, it is a pinup girl. Take your pick.
No, so I had this whole idea. So we were eating Chinese food one night, all our wives and everyone, and I'm like, I have an idea. No alcohol was involved. I'm just weird. And I'm like, you have web feet. And I'm like, let's pretend like we have a swimming competition and like you just destroy me. Then I find out that's your secret power and I pretend you're a dolphin and I start training you and all this. And then I'm like, oh, you're a mermaid and I save you. And then you have to like follow me everywhere you go because you have to save me before you can return to the ocean. And then it became a whole thing. And so that's where we're getting it. That's
and now you wonder why we run a men's mental health podcast.
It had nothing to do with the mermaid outfit. It was leading up to the mermaid outfit. Got it.
So yeah, just to recap, I mean, by the time this episode comes out, I cruise right past some of that stuff. But by the time this episode comes out, we are going to be just weeks away from that event. June 21st, out in the Pensacola area of Florida. We are teaming up with Justin Danger Nunley and a couple of other influencer friends that we've got, and we're putting on a charity beard competition. And it's just going to be for fun, family.
And it's also to help. I got you.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole beard competition thing. It's going to be for fun in the sense that it's just bragging rights. But the whole premise of the whole thing is that we're going to be putting all the proceeds from that event towards I've Got Your 622. If you've been following us for a while, you know Brian and his organization, how they provide service dogs for veterans and first responders struggling with PTSD. We did this once before.
You know what would be really, really fun?
What would be really, really fun?
And I'm putting you on the spot and all that kind of stuff, but we should do a dinner afterwards, like a community dinner of like people who know us, people who know Justin, people who knew War Trophy, and like we should do some sort of like barbecue at the beach or something.
We're doing that the night before.
Okay, I was just testing. I don't know what's going on in my life.
So essentially,
I just found out I've been married 22 years, almost 23. So
essentially, what's happening is that Friday.
I have 6 kids.
That Friday the 20th, we're going to be out there. We're going to shoot the podcast with Justin. The venue we've got lined up is sick. It's like a car museum.
It is pretty cool.
They've got some classics.
Love it.
They've got I think they've got an old Willys Jeep in there. They've got like a couple of supercars. We're gonna do the podcast with Justin, and then we're gonna do like a VIP dinner for everyone who's come out there with us, the brands that are gonna be out there.
I had no idea.
And we're gonna do.
Logan doesn't tell me anything.
We get to go to dinner though. That's what I got.
Yeah, we're literally gonna bring in like a barbecue joint. We're gonna figure out.
When were you going to tell me this?
This is all me and Sean. We're planning the logistics of it. You just get to show up and look pretty, babe. It's okay.
That's pretty easy. Nice.
I always tell him, I'm like, let me help with the social media. Let me help with this. Let me help with this. Like, no. I'm going to control everything.
Anyways, 5 minutes into the episode. So Nick, before we have you introduce yourself, funny thing is one of the things, this is maybe, I don't know, it's going to sound maybe pretentious or gloating. One of the biggest things that I have an insecurity about is coming off like I'm cooler or bigger than I am doing what I do on social media. Like, I don't ever want to come off like, I don't like the word influencer. Like, we say it in a joking.
I always tease him as like, I'm an influencer.
Me and my wife will even joke of like that I'm not really an influencer because I don't push product, right?
Yeah.
So it was funny as
We only will get sponsored by people that match us. We've been offered several things, and we're like, that doesn't match us.
Yeah, we don't do stuff. But since we do have like a soft spot for veterans, first responders, and we do have the soft spot obviously for mental health, and then meeting you, and we'll get into that whole story. But the funny thing is I was just in the middle of like my every Sundays I go to Costco with my kids. We get hot dogs, we grab the toilet paper, the flat of Diet Coke, and
the pizza's the best.
The pizza's it's ever since they got rid of the combo, it's just not the same.
But see, I go to Sam's Club because it's closer to my house.
Cool.
That's not even on the same level though.
Yeah.
Like,
they have a combo.
Okay, well maybe I'll.
No, they don't. They have a 3 meat, and I enjoy it.
But anyway, so we're sitting there and we're loading stuff into the. I think I wanna say I had in my truck, but I'm pretty sure it was the minivan.
it was the van.
It was the van. We were just loading stuff up, and you came up and you just introduced yourself and said that you'd followed me for a little bit on social media, and then in that moment, the anxiety sets in of like, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I the same guy? And so I start thinking that over and over and over. But before I keep going through all that, we got to chatting, and now you're here, and we learned a little bit. I've learned a little bit about War Trophy, but tell us who you are. Tell us what you do. We're gonna get into some of your personal stories, and give us a quick blurb about how you got involved with War Trophy.
Yeah, so my name's Nick Bright, out here in Utah, and so what I do, kind of on the side right now, is I do writing. I'm an author. I have my own podcast called Just Keep Writing. But then I've been connected in the creative industry and helping others build their social media brands and kind of figure out what their voice is for their brands. I've worked with Manly Bands a little bit, and now I'm working with War Trophy right now to help them get up and running, and kind of get their message out there. And their kind of thing right now is there's so many military brands out there, and they're built with the cheapest stuff out there. They slap a cool logo, slap a cool phrase from the military, and then you get the worst product ever. There's a few brands out there where we used to wear them all the time, and they've gone from the go-to brand to you don't want to touch it with the 10-foot pole because there's already got a hole in it. And so War Trophy is kind of inspired by low-quality gear out there that's actually designed and built for the military, military grade. And if you've been in the military, military grade means it is the cheapest possible thing that the government can build by the cheapest possible person.
But it just costs a lot of money.
It just costs a lot of money.
Military grade means expensive and crappy.
Yes.
That's funny.
So yeah, we're taking a different approach where it's like we want premium quality that's actually designed for your everyday life or your uniform duties that you have. And so that's kind of what War Trophy is getting back to that type of branding, that type of materials and quality of apparel.
That's rad. So you said you're a writer, and that you do a lot of like brand marketing and stuff like that on social media. So how did you get paired up with War Trophy? Where did that connection come through?
Through a mutual friend that had worked with Justin, who owns War Trophy, right? And he was having a difficult time getting a website launched. He had spent like 3 or 4 months. He, was just working with a brand that just didn't understand the veteran voice and stuff like that. I got introduced, and before I got introduced, I went and built him a new website, pulled everything I knew, gave slogans, taglines. I knew, what he wanted. Built him a new site. Was like, hey, like we can get this up and running. Like now, like I understand how to communicate with veterans, but furthermore, because I've been out for 10 years now. Gosh, 10 years now. But the business acumen that I've accumulated, like I can now speak business to veterans with veterans and cross-reference with civilians. And so I kind of took those two skills and helped them out, and really been diving into that of figuring out like where's that raw energy from the military that still is going to communicate to the consumers.
That's cool. Cause that's the thing that we've noticed the most and we've learned the most in doing what we do is that when you find that relation point, that's where you really make the connection. Right. So you said you've been out for 10 years. What branch of the military were you in?
Army. And I did 5.5 as an infantryman, obviously deployed just once, 2011, 2012 in Afghanistan, which was fun, but...
Wow, you were in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Which, just, I was one of the few deployments that I didn't have to shoot my weapon one time.
No.
But
So
it was also a little different time. Like it was the transition between we were the fighting force versus the Afghan National Army and police became the fighting force, right?
Yeah.
So like the rules changed and stuff like that, and you know, we'll talk about that a little bit later on in my own personal story here. But like they had deployed, and I was at Fort Carson and Fort Polk, Louisiana, out of those two places, and now I'm back in Utah.
Nice.
Nice. So it's it holds a special place in your heart. It's not that you just speak the language. Is that every military guy we've met, every veteran, active duty. I mean, one of the close friends I have right now is he's still active and he's out doing some training and stuff right now. But like you said, it is a whole language. Like it's a whole a whole separate community. So what does it mean to speak the language of like a veteran? Like
so what I'm learning is I'm working with other people where I'm working with a little bit more with veterans now versus non-veterans. Like there's just a difference in how you can communicate. So I can 100% go up to a veteran that I'm working with and be like, I need this, this, and this. There's no ifs, ands, buts. Like, this is what I need. I'm leading the project. You go and do those things. But on the other side, like working with civilians, like there's a rhyme, there's a reason. You have to have buy-in. Like there's just more that goes into it. So
I know that because I'm at Hill right now.
Okay, yeah.
And so I deal with both sides and like, contractors, civilians, and government, and then you're just like,
it's
so much like loopholes you have to do and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and like when I first got out, I was like, I want to be in management at a business. Like I was a team lead, I was a corporal, and I loved leading and training and like just being with the young kids that are coming. I got in, I was a little bit older. I was 22, so like, grandpa, comparatively to the kids that were 17 and 18. And, just bringing up those kids that had no life experience, right? You get them, you mold them. And like, I love that. Getting into the business world, like, it's totally different. Like, you cannot, when someone messes up, like, you have to think about every possible way to talk to them where you can't hurt their feelings. And in the military, if you messed up, I don't know, cursing allowed? No. Like,
I will kill you.
Okay. That's exactly the line. Like, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, you can just talk different and you can be so direct and it is what it is.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, that approach, like, is very damaging to psyche 10, 20 years
in. No feelings get hurt. It just is what it is. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. This is your job. You take care of it. And I understand that a lot because who the people I deal with. But man, it's a different entity when you're dealing with like the civilian type of world where it's just like they might not have been in the military, they might not have done anything, and so you really do. And so I've developed not developed, but enveloped.
I don't know.
Developed.
No, I didn't develop this. This is like Gary V or something like with kind candor, where you tell them the honest truth, but you say it in a way where it's like it's not demeaning to them because what you're telling them is the truth, but also you're telling them because you love them and you want them to grow and succeed.
Yeah, so there's a book called Radical Candor, actually.
Radical Candor is actually, I've actually read it.
Very good book. The military is just the extreme of that.
Yeah.
It's definitely, and I've read parts of it.
When you're at war, it happens. It doesn't matter. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And you have to be like, you have to have it done. And so that's what you have to just like do, just suck it up. Like you have to take care of it.
We had a phrase like, there's nothing to it but to do it. Right? Like you don't have a choice in certain scenarios and in situations and stuff like that. And it's helped me a lot because like I've had other bosses to be like, I know I can just tell you something and it will get done. Like I don't have to worry about when you're going to get it done. I just know I tell you what to do. You get a deadline. I know it's going to be done by the deadline.
Well, what you were saying before we got on this, like kind of leading into this topic, you're saying that like how you speak to one another and you outside with civilian talk, you have to worry about, the right words and hurting feelings. And while that works while you're in the military, later on down the line, it can be really damaging to your psyche.
Sure.
Right. Because we've all seen like, the movies and the TV shows where it's like, oh, I was raised in a military household. Like it was like, out of bed, like almost like every dad was like a drill sergeant. Right.
Yeah.
But the point being is that you are I mean, it's almost programmed in a way, no matter what branch of the military
for
you're
sure.
in, right?
Yeah.
Your commanding officers. I mean, there's the whole drill sergeant aspect where you're just basically screamed at, right?
Depending on when you went in, yeah.
Sure, right? but one thing that seems pretty universal though is while the military and the fighting forces and all that stuff, first responders tend to be the toughest and most hardened men and women out there in the country. Almost all of them they won't shy away from talking about taking care of their brothers and sisters in mental health, but they will if they're talking about taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're always looking out for for the man on your team, but you never feel like you're the one worth looking out for.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if I wasn't in the military.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I mean, there's a million stories of why people wanted to or they couldn't or whatever. I thought about it. I didn't go that route, but I've always loved the brotherhood aspect. I've always loved the camaraderie, all that stuff. And I feel like everybody you meet, it's just this unspoken bond that obviously there's the rivalry of like, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, National Guard, all those guys. But at the end of the day, you guys were all part of the same, just different branches of the same tree, literally, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have, so I work with a gentleman and he's become a really good friend of mine. He will be on the podcast when he can do it.
Okay.
Like he's still not there. But he suffers from severe PTSD. And that's why I love, like, though we just talked about how you do it, you just it just gets done. It sucks at the same time because his job was to take the bodies of our fallen military soldiers and fly them back home.
Yeah.
And fly them from the bases and all that. And he said the bodies kind of melt. And he suffers a lot. And then all the bombs are flying by him as he's flying and all that kind of stuff. And so 4th of July, he's gone. He gets out and like where he can't hear anything.
Yeah.
And he'll just shake. And some days he's here, some days he's not, meaning
Mentally, yeah.
Yeah. And you can just tell him, like, okay, today's not a day we can talk.
Yep.
And I'm grateful for, like, I got your 6. I'm grateful for people like you guys that are willing to help them because there's certain, like me and Logan, there's certain things that we will never experience that people who have been to war have. And I'm grateful for them. It's just, dude, that's hard. And so how do you talk to someone like that? And so I'm grateful for people like you who are willing to talk and share your feelings and stuff because 22 suicides a day is not okay.
Well, that's just the ones that they know about too, right? So what is it about the military family and community that makes it, speak candidly if you want to, but is it the shared trauma? Is it just from your perspective, is it just friends you've seen gone, the things you've seen while you're out there? I mean, obviously different deployments mean different things.
Yeah.
So why is it that almost every veteran-owned company I've ever come across, there is always like a mental health tie-in or giving back or connection? Like it's veteran-owned businesses just run differently.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we want to make money, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, and let's start at the beginning, right? Like, when someone goes in, like, you get deprogrammed from how, like, civilian and society has raised you and taught you things, right?
Sure.
You get stripped down to, like, emotionally, mentally, physically, like, you are nothing compared to everyone else next to you. And collectively, you all are nothing. And once you hit that like point in basic training where you're like, I'm a worm, then it starts building on top of that. Hey, you're a worm that did hard stuff. Hey, you're no longer a worm, you're now this, right? And so as you go through your career, there's progressions where you're doing more, you're getting more done. But the entire time, you're bonding through misery with everyone around you. And so that, like, there's something to be said about, like, obviously they're doing it on purpose, right? Like, there's studies that probably they don't even share about, but, like, if you and I went through something miserable together, I don't care how you treat me for the rest of my life, you and I will have this one moment impact of, hey, we almost died together. Hey, we through this. I didn't think I was going to make it through without you. Doesn't matter. I could see you in 50 years. I'll be like, hey.
Yeah, like shared,
how you doing? Like,
shared trauma.
you know, it's a shared trauma type thing. And it's sad to say shared trauma. We used to have a phrase for it, and I can't ever remember it. But it's like, it's sad to say shared trauma because, like, it is trauma at the end of the day. Like, it was raining. You know, it's raining right now. I had the epiphany. I was like, I used to sit in rain like this in this weather with no rain gear for hours because someone didn't want to go home yet. Like, why? You know, but the guys I did it with, like, most of them, if they call me up today, it's like, yeah, what do you need? Like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
You know, and I think it is part of that bonding through misery. You know, loves company, right? You're miserable together. You do things together. Like, you have a shared bond there. But to go on top of that, like, you live your entire life working and serving for everybody else around you. That is like the one thing that I've seen you can't like deprogram after you get there. Like, it's still a thing. If you were a selfish person in the military, like, you're going to be selfish afterwards for the most part. Like, you're still going to look out for each other. You're going to be like, hey, I know you're a veteran and stuff like that. I don't know you from Adam, but like, yeah, let's work it out. Let's help you out. And I think that's one of the things like I came to when I first got out too. I worked at the UVU Veteran Success Center and, you know, I just wanted to make sure other veterans knew how to use their benefits. Right. And it turned into like, I became a peer advisor and like helping kids with mental health and getting them the help that they need at the VA and like all this stuff.
Do you ever see any like resistance to getting help?
Oh, all the time. Like,
What's the reasoning behind it? Because I
no one
know
understands me.
Okay.
And I'll quote that, right?
Yeah, no one understands me.
A civilian won't understand that what I went through and what I experienced, no matter what. And like the sad part is like that is true of my experience. Every appointed therapist and psychologist I've talked to is like, it's empty words for me at the end of the day. Like I don't get anything out of it but I go on a dude trip with a bunch of veterans and we get to talk, we get to bond, we get to talk about things like we're there. Like I can talk and do things with them that I do feel a connection with. And I think that's the kind of like with the mental health aspect, it is the connection of we have a shared experience together. And I know you can not just sympathize with me or empathize, like, you know, this experience. And I think that's kind of like the secret to unlocking the things. There's also other veterans that don't do talking, like go out, take them and let them shoot guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them relive some of like, I guess you could say glory days, but let them relive some of the good times that they had too.
Hair of the dog that bit you, so to speak. You know,
I've never heard that.
You've literally never heard that?
Never heard that. He's never heard it either.
I'm sorry.
Do you know what a limericky is?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh my gosh. It's a Utah thing.
It is a Utah thing.
Thank you.
It's supposed to be a gin Ricky, but
You've never heard the
Utah.
phrase "the hair of the dog that bit you"?
Never.
no.
So it's like when a
It's
guy
a California thing.
No, it's I mean probably it's more of a hangover thing.
Oh.
Of like you got a hangover sometimes. Like it was the dog that bit you, so get a little bit of the hair of the dog that bit you, like to make you feel a little bit better. You take a shot the day after you got a hangover.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, but kind of back to what you were saying that.
I always derail the conversation.
No, I
always.
derailed it too.
I
but
love it.
that's half the fun of the podcast. But one thought I was having is almost like it's like too bad there's not like veteran psychiatry where all of the psychiatrists are veterans. And I'm like, that really wouldn't work because all of those psychiatric veterans would also need psychiatric care. Like it would just be this like
Oh, dude, it's a never-ending loop.
never-ending loop. It's like, yeah, but that's the thing is that like it's that is like a pretty typical thing when it comes to almost just like mental health in general is like everyone's like, oh, nobody understands me. But where it comes down to, and you hit that point perfectly, is that feeling of not feeling alone, whether it's just going out and connecting with somebody that you trust, somebody that you know who does get you, right? And that's why I like what you guys are doing with War Trophy. Like you said, like the mentally questionable. And we're big proponents in we're also big, but we're like big believers in like lightening the mood. And I feel like the military community does that best. So we're not doing anything new, but like,
No, but
you guys almost go darker.
oh, military,
You go
like
way dark.
Well, and that's kind of like the line that we're trying to find right now is how dark can we be? because like there's been such a big shift culturally with the military. Like I'm GWAT, right? Global War on Terrorism. We had 2 decades worth of war. All of us are almost out. If not, we're out. We're done. Like we're old people now.
Sure.
Like, you know, there's a whole new generation of kids in the military, and they've gone through so many changes over the last 10 years. Whereas like it's so different. Like, what is the line? What was acceptable when I was in on what you said, what you could do was not acceptable 5 years ago.
Have you seen an 80s movie recently?
Exactly, right?
Dude, I was just like,
You know what I mean? Like,
It's crazy though too. Like you're just kind of like gave me some massive perspective of you're like these kids in the military, and it's like I think there's like this running joke of like you always feel like you're 17, but you're just like a 35-year-old, 17-year-old. Like that's how I feel, right?
yeah.
But like looking at it, I'm like, oh crap, no, we got kids that were born in like 2003 in the military.
Yeah.
Like they are kids. Like we are like older. We're getting to be like middle-aged men now, and so they're kids that are in the military.
Kidding? I mean, I've considered myself middle age for like 10 years. No, it's just kind of like that perspective is like, how much has the military changed, and has it helped people? Have the changes helped, or have they made it worse?
Interesting.
Because I question that too, because at the end of the day, the military is there to do a function. And that function is to, protect America, fight wars, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
But what do you do when all the rules change, when, people are literally saying, no, I'm not going to go, and they just walk away and there's no repercussions?
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Like, back when I was in, it was like, oh, you went AWOL?
Yeah.
Boom. Spin up the base, spin up everything, put bolos out, go talk to their family. You drag them back and put them on a plane.
Really?
You know what I mean? Like, so it's so different now that like,
I didn't know that.
I've seen and heard stuff. And I'm just like, the way I was brought up in the military is just different than the way people are in the military now, and it depends on your MOS too, right? Your job in the military. I'm combat arms, I'm infantry. Like we're the guys that we think we're the shit.
Yeah.
Like compared to everybody else except for special forces, like we think everyone supports us. And at the end of the day, yeah, it's kind of true. Like everyone else supports the combat arms because we're the ones on the ground fighting and we need all the assets, right? And so like coming up in the military, like, dude, I was like king of the hill all the time.
Yeah.
If you weren't in the infantry, like, dude, I looked down on you. Like, and it's sad, but it was like, that's how we were. Like, that's how we were. Nowadays, it's not like that. Like, there's not that different sense of pride that we had.
So would you say that's a benefit or a detriment?
Detriment? Like, because I'm a firm believer, like, getting deprogrammed and reprogrammed to be able to go over there and take a life is one thing. I think what the military fails at is the reprogram to civilian life.
Oh, okay.
And so like you get out of the military and it's just like, okay, cool. You're on your own.
Ooh.
Here's your 3-week program that you did to exit, where we taught you how to do a resume in LinkedIn and do a job search.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so like you get these kids, 18, went to war twice, got out at 23, might have a kid, might be married, but he's 23 with no education, no real life experience. So when you're in and you're single or you're a young private, right? You have no control over most of your life.
So talking about all that, one of the big points that you'd made that stuck with me, you're saying that like they have no purpose anymore. So with everything we've talked about so far, and I know you've got your own story that we've chatted about a little bit, and I want you to share that if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, no, for
so
sure.
So is the story that you wanted to share, is it pre, during, or post military, or is it all wrapped together?
It's all wrapped. Like it's kind of wrapped up in my like last like year of my service.
Okay. And then does that play into the whole like not having a purpose? Like is that coming from like a place of experience?
Watching others.
Okay.
So like I got out. I had a plan. I had a lot of support and stuff like that when I got out. But working at the Veteran Center at EVU, everyone I helped, man, they were just like, I have a GI Bill and I guess I should use it, right? Like, what else do I do? And it's like, where are you living? I don't know yet. Like, what do you mean you don't know yet? Like, how are you in Utah? Like, well, I'm sleeping on someone's couch. And it's like, okay. So I kind of saw through there, like, a lot of people were like coming in, like, they knew they had a GI Bill and they wanted to use it, but that was the extent of how far they got, right?
And a GI Bill, that's for the people who don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's the education benefits that, you know, VA pays for your education and stuff like that.
So these kids are coming out of the military and they have no idea that they have these benefits that can be used. In
They know like it's a complicated process to use them to start with, like government work. But it is one of those things like they don't know how to find them. They you got to teach them like how to navigate websites, pull up things, do applications, do all that stuff.
So it really is just like dump them off when they're done.
Oh, when you get out, like it is. We call it ETS day, right? End of service, and you drive away from base and drive back home.
Yeah,
and that's that.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no like.
So how was that for you? Like how you talked about it was like the whole last year of your service. Like what?
Yeah.
Like walk us through that.
So for me, it really like my hard part was like I was 5 years in. I hadn't been promoted to E5 yet. Really didn't love my experience, and we were like I enjoyed it, but I didn't have the career I thought I was gonna have as far as like promotions go and stuff like that. And we were doing a drawback. I was like, I don't know if I'll deploy again. As an infantryman, if you're not deploying, like you just sit around pretending and play war, and that's boring. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'll just get out and go to school. And then my last like couple months, like started having some heart palpitation issues where it was like I'd been off caffeine for 4 or 5 days and I couldn't get my heart to stop racing, and like went in through a long, lengthy diagnosis process. Like I found out I had thyroid cancer. Oh. And like at that point, that's when like all my leaders were like dead man profile, and profile is like what you're allowed to do as far as like PT and work and stuff like that. They said, you do nothing other than go to your cancer appointments, and that's it. And from that point on, like I was a ghost to my unit. No one knew how to talk to me. No one was like reaching out to me to check on my mental health. It was like, Nick's got cancer. He can't train. We can't like just make sure he's alive, basically.
Yeah.
And it was the most alone I've ever felt in my entire career was those months. But I didn't realize that until like years later. Like I was so disconnected with everybody. Like we still had the nights and the weekends and stuff like that. But it was like I was done. I was dead. I was useless to the Army at that point. And like, it's, 10 years later, it still affects me. Where it's like, what the hell, man? Like, what was all that for? So I got out right after all my treatments and stuff like that. And so.
Do you feel like you have like some abandonment issues from that? Maybe like I feel like that's such a buzzword sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like abandonment is used as like a word associated with weakness. But I mean, I'm realizing in my 30s that like I have feelings of that, and it's not something that should be like.
So I'm not gonna say abandonment issues because like my military issues also ties back to like home life and stuff like that. Like I didn't have a crappy home life. I just, in my opinion, like, sorry, Mom, but she was like an absentee mom. She was there, but didn't do anything with us, didn't really like, we were a bother to her, right? So like growing up and in the military is like always trying to prove my value to my superiors at all times that I'm worthy of attention, love, and all that, right? And like, it sounds stupid to say out loud, but at the same time, like,
it's not,
you either want to be the guy that no one notices but keeps moving up, or you want to be the guy that's reliable, but you don't want to be the guy that everyone wants to get kicked out, right? And so you're, going through my home life and stuff like that. Like I said, it wasn't bad, but like, damn, I'm in my 30s, and I was like, dude, there's a lot of stuff that's bad. Like, actually, like that. It's the way I act now, and it's the way I treat my kids because of how I was brought up. But yeah, abandonment, I wouldn't say that, but I would say like inferiority.
Yeah, we know what that we feel like we know what that means. I mean, one thing we've found through this podcast journey is that there is so much more relatability out there amongst men than we realize, whether it's military, whether it's civilian, whether it's you were raised this way, whether it was, you know, like you said, it was like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great versus, you know, having amazing parents versus like having abusive parents. Like there is a lot of shared commonality when it comes to how you process things mentally and how you process the trauma, how you process feeling let down, how you process realizing, like, and it's like, as a man, you know, it's almost hard to admit, like, yeah, I wanted some freaking validation. I wanted someone to see me. I wanted someone to like hear me. And then you realize you have those experiences in your 30s and your 40s when someone doesn't see you or validate you or hear you. Yeah. And it all comes rushing right back. And it's almost like a smaller form of PTSD.
Oh, for sure.
So do you feel like any of that stuff still affects you today?
100%. Like, for me, like, I'm not going through like a crisis right now. Like, but so I've had thyroid cancer, got out to college right when I was graduating, found out I had leukemia, right?
Oh, wow.
And so like I have chronic myeloid leukemia, and like
I have gas.
That's about the same.
Yeah. Totally comparable, Tyson.
I take Gas X too. So not sponsored.
Yes.
So one of the things for me, right, like, you know, as I end a journey, I get health issues, right? And so that right there, like, so we've got military service, right? Like, and I'm not one of those guys that are going to say, oh, if you didn't go to a war zone and get blown up every day, you don't have PTSD. No. Like, you have PTSD from dealing with the shitty people all the time. Sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where it comes from. It doesn't, like, yeah, it comes from war, but, like, dude, there's some leaders where I'm like, I'd kick you off a cliff tomorrow for something you did in a 5-minute window to me. Like, you know, but it's one of those things, like, PTSD is just so different and so
I had a neighbor and a really good friend. We moved into our house and we introduced our families to each other, and the wife took us to the side. He's like, he is a wonderful person, but he was deployed in the first Gulf War, and he was a Navy SEAL, and he was the only one who came back alive. Yeah, and he says the only thing that he's ever said to us is there was so much blood. That's the only thing he's ever said. And he's like, sometimes he's here, sometimes he's not. Don't let your kids come in our house by themselves, stuff like that. It's like he's not going to hurt them. It's just I'm just letting you know. I'm like, okay, thank you so much, because he's such a nice and wonderful guy. But we had he would just come and talk to us, and then all of a sudden he's gone. Yeah, like, he's there, but he's gone. And one day, another neighbor who just moved in didn't know what was going on. And and he's sitting on the front porch, and he's just staring, and he doesn't know what he's staring at. He's just not here. And the neighbors, the way they're situated, you could see over the fence, and his wife and kids are swimming in their swimming pool, and it looks like he's just staring at his wife. Yeah. And the guy came out, I'm like, no, he's not here. It's like, he's not staring at your wife, I promise. Yeah. And it's just like his trauma is just severe. And I just like, and I know not everyone has that, but it's just like, dude, how can you ever get over something like that? Like, I don't know if you can.
I mean, luckily I don't have to figure that out.
Yeah, right? But at the same time, like you said, you still are going, like Logan and I still have things that we have, our demons, but but there's certain levels, in my opinion. But
to that point, like, PTSD isn't always just associated with, you know, military activity, right? Like, you probably have a level of it of beating one form of cancer, then being diagnosed with another after everything else that you've been through. Yeah. So how does that all weigh on your mental health? Like, how does, like, if you can, or if you feel like you want, like, kind of getting deeper into. Yeah.
I mean, the hardest part about it, so thyroid cancer was like, I felt alone, and then it was like a 1.5 month diagnosis with surgery before, like, we got to determine answer. And then it was like radiation treatment, right? So, like, physically I was beat up, mentally, like, hadn't caught up to me mentally just yet. Like, at first I was like, holy shit, I have cancer. Like, the hell? Like, and no one knows how to respond to that. And so, like, you know, went through that, went to college, everything was fine. Like, thyroid cancer is very, very treatable and livable afterwards. The leukemia diagnosis back in 2018, that was scary because it was like,
that one's rough.
hey, you're looking at going up to Seattle for a bone marrow transplant. And it's like, that's like a 60% like survival rate. Like, you know, like don't love my odds here. What the hell? So it was like 3 weeks of just like waiting. Like in that, like the waiting is the worst because I'm not in control. It sucks. It's horrible. Like, and I've always been the person like, hey, when it's my time, it's my time. Like I went to war and I was like, hey, if it just so happens I don't make it back, I don't make it back. Like, you know, I'm okay with this. Like I feel like I'm doing something with purpose. I took that mentality into leukemia and like literally balled in like a parking lot of a shopping mall. And I was like, I don't want to die. Yeah. And then I get the phone call that they had the diagnosis like 20 minutes later. And it was like, hey, you have this type of leukemia. We're going to treat it with this type of cancer med, a pill. It's an everyday treatment.
And how are you feeling now?
And I came back.
Physically.
So we got off of the drug because there's clinical trials that you can be off of it after you're on it for a few many years. And your leukemia stays in an undetectable status is what they call it. So it's never remission. It's always there. But as long as the levels aren't detectable.
It's like a hibernation.
You're good. Yeah, I guess more or less. January came and found out it came back.
Oh, buddy.
And so like technically cancer for round 3. And I charged through, right? Got my full-time job. I got my writing, got my own podcast. I've got, you know, stuff I'm doing with War Trophy. And everything's been good. I've been juggling. I got 3 kids. Like, we're fine. We're Gucci. And then I thought I had a heart attack. Like,
dude.
Not even a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And like, it was to the point where it was like, yeah, like I had a really like big fart. And like, it just got to the point I was like, same thing, heart palpitations. And then like my chest started to hurt a little bit. I was like, that's a little different. No caffeine for a few days. And then like, all of a sudden, like I just felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest and like it hurt. And I was like,
yeah, that's not normal.
Not normal. Totally fine on my heart. Stress and panic,
dude.
I felt that.
And I was
recently.
like, what just happened? Because mentally, I was fine. I was doing everything I needed to do, right? I was writing. I was taking breaks. Like, I have, you know, both my jobs, and I was doing great, I thought. No. I had hard charged through all the hard stuff and ignored it.
Your subconscious.
And didn't realize it, and my body shut me down.
Dude, that's so crazy because I've
experienced that.
That might be one of my single most scary things.
Yeah,
the whole
dude,
time
it's
I was like,
terrifying.
if I'm gonna have a heart attack, just do it already. Like, let's get it over with.
Dude, that's so crazy. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew you had a couple bouts with cancer and you and I talked a little bit. I didn't know about, I mean, this was like,
It's 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. I mean,
I was on spring break with my kids. Like, we were supposed to go to see my mom. And then like Tuesday night, I'm in the ER. I was like, I have chest pains. I don't know what's going on.
Logan actually just this week or last week, he just told me, he's like, because I've lost quite a bit. Logan's lost quite a bit. The stress I have felt these past 2 months have been unreal. Like it has been unreal. Like if anyone knew, Logan knows. It have been stupid. Like where it's debilitating. And he's like, if you didn't lose your weight, you probably would be dead because of how
he's about
like
70 pounds down from when we started.
But it's just like
I
know how that feels where you can't breathe because of all the stress and all the everything just comes to you because you power. Like I try. Like we are so big on mental health. We're so big on taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
But we don't always live it. We try to. We try. Like I just told him yesterday. Like I've been distant from Logan on purpose because I feel like I don't want to bring him down because I'm down. And I said that to him, and he's like, "Shut up, Tyson. You're an idiot." He's like, "You got to promise me that won't happen again." But it's like we're huge proponents, but at the same time, we still suffer and we still go
But
through things.
it's all about checks and balances, though, right? I was doing all the right things that have worked in the past.
Yeah.
But I think this is the challenging part with mental health. What you need and how you cope with it and how you get through things, it changes.
Oh, 100%.
What worked for me 6 months ago didn't work now. Yeah.
Well, it's crazy you said that because
know things.
there was this was before I knew you. This was like
When you ran naked in the street?
No, that was no.
Oh, yeah. That was 7
This
years.
was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was working for a trucking company and I was helping manage it. And we had this contract where we had to get going at like 2:00 in the morning on certain jobs. and I'm driving 2:30, 3 o'clock, something like that in the morning, going down to the truck yard to go get some stuff ready. And I felt that. Like all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding like crazy. It was erratic. I'm like, I'm having a heart attack and I'm, 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm like freaking out. And it was literally like coming to a point where you're down in Utah County, right?
Yeah.
Oh, duh. That's where we met. So I'm going towards
two houses or two blocks away from each other.
So I'm going down. I'm going down Pioneer Crossing, getting ready to go on I-15 South. It was either that or go straight over to the hospital in AF.
Yeah.
And I call my wife.
American Fork for everyone.
American Fork, yeah. So I call my wife, tell her to call my boss that I'm going to the hospital instead. And I like stumbled into the ER, like 100% convinced I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
I told him, I hit the ground. I was a much bigger dude than I was than I am now. And I'm like on the ground, like clutching my chest, feeling like I'm having a heart attack. And the nurse on call was like, I'm sorry, I can't lift you. I need you to get in the get in the wheelchair. So I'm like thinking I'm dying, like getting in the wheelchair.
The most humbling moment of my life.
Yeah. Not only am I dying, but you just called me fat. But so I get in there, stress, panic attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, just literally your subconscious being like, it's almost the doctor of the psych, because obviously I've been going through a psych for years or whatever. She said it's almost like enough things were going okay that your body felt like it was time to let some other stuff go. So it was like other things that you don't have to normally worry about on a daily basis were pumping and going fine on their own.
Yeah.
So that one thing that was holding on by a thread finally broke, and then everything came flooding in. So it's like, dude, I'm sorry that you had to go. I mean, like I remember how you like almost gave me a little PTSD because that was like one of the scariest moments.
It's just like it's so different. Like so, the first 2 times I went through cancer, right? Like I was single, so like accepting death was okay. I have 3 kids now. Like, I've got a wife, and it's like, dude, if I'm gone, they're done. Like financially,
very, very
like
different.
It's so different. And I think that's what changes like everything for me is like, I've got kids now. Like what used to work doesn't work now. Like, and they're little stressors for me too, which is great. I love them. But it's like, it's just so different now and how we do things and how we operate and like the interchangeability of like what is my trigger this year? Yeah. What's going to set me off to have a moment where it's like, I'm going like not an existential crisis, but it's like, what am I doing with my life? What am I trying to do? Like, what's the purpose behind me getting up every single day to go work for a company where like they just give me a paycheck, right? Yeah. Like, what's the bigger picture for me now? And I think that's part of like, I'm doing so much, but I don't see the end results. I don't see where I'm trying to get to yet.
That's one thing that Logan and I have been working really hard about is the meditation and understanding what our real goals are, because what is the real goal for Dad Bods? What is the real goal for everything that we're doing? Yeah. Like, where do we need to be and where do we want to be and who do we need to be so that that can happen? Yeah. And that's a lot of work.
Oh, stress.
So this has been, as we're wrapping up here, not that I'm trying to like use you as an example, but like a lot of times when we have people on the show, there's almost like this backstory of like how they are today or whatever. Yours is like almost like a breath of relatable fresh air because it's like you're going through stuff right now. Yeah. So that's the thing. And I'm not trying to like wave that as a flag of like, oh, this is awesome. This is so relatable that you're going through this stuff. But that's, I'm so glad that you came here. I'm so glad that we connected in the freaking, parking lot and that we're working together in a bunch of different ways because this is what it's all about.
He's going to be a mermaid too.
Now you're going to have to. But like it's meeting.
I want a seashell bra, please.
But it's meeting guys where they're at, and a lot of times, meeting them where they're at is in the thick of it, like in the thick of it. Yeah. Like we don't ever want to portray that like, hey, we've got everything all together, and now we just get to tell our stories without whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, I was telling, I broke down last week to Tyson. You've got stuff you're going through. Tyson's got the stress that he's going through. Yeah. It's a constant daily battle. And I think that not enough gets said about the guys that keep going. Yeah. That are just constantly like you said, at the end of the day, it boils down to like, I've got my wife and I've got my kids. So I owe it to them. And I just did another show with a buddy of ours talking about like, that's just why you keep going. It's why you keep going, because you have other
You don't
people.
have a choice.
It's not even like, oh, they rely on me just for like temporal needs. It's like, no, like your dad. So you're your wife's person. Like you gotta keep going as long as you could like physically and emotionally.
Heavy is the crown, man. Like, I think like, and I don't want to say, because at the end of the day, yeah, I get up and go to work and I do it for my kids. But at the end of the day, I'm still missing that piece that makes me me.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you know, I was talking to my wife, like, okay, great. Like, my kids have a great life. We have a good marriage. Like, we have the things we need. But I still feel like I'm lacking in providing certain things for them. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, it's like, I feel like I'm falling short in life. And that's where it brings up, you know, my parents, the military, like, you know, cancers, like it all accumulates to this, like, am I living up to where I want to be or not?
Well, and I think that thought needs to be recognized for what it is that like, you're not stagnant though. There's a lot of guys that will have those thoughts and then they live in them as excuses and not like looking for that missing piece. And I think chasing that missing piece is what sets you apart of like, not just sitting down and wallowing in the rain. You know, he's sitting there for hours. Yeah. It's like, why am I sitting here in the rain? Like, what lesson is there to be learned? What more is it that I can find a piece of myself? And I think the biggest thing that men don't do is we will go as far as we can for the people that we love, but we will fall short often for ourselves.
100%.
So
But you're sitting in the rain and you need to feel content that you're where you're at, feel gratitude with it. And no, I don't know. To me, it's like our expectations might not be what we want. Yeah. And so we push ourselves down. We talk like, oh, my kids have a good life, but I wish I could supply. Dude, you're a great dad. Your kids love you. You know, all this kind of stuff. Like be grateful for that and say, yeah, I'm working for this, but I can still be content and grateful and happy right now. Mm-hmm. I think that all of us struggle with that because all of us want more. All of us want to be better. So that's where I struggle. Is like, oh, you know, I have a great family, but
there's always a but.
Yeah, and I need to learn how to have no butt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've lost a lot of weight. I have no butt. But
it was coming back to that.
But physically I have no butt. But mentally I have a big butt.
With the last wrap up here, is there any like final thought or whatever? Obviously, we're going to be doing some stuff together. Yeah. You know, War Trophy and Nick, you guys, we're going to be involved with Dad Bods for the foreseeable future and do a lot of stuff together with you guys. So this won't be the last time you guys hear from Nick. But for this episode, what's the last little nugget of advice or just a thought that you want to throw out there?
So for me, what I'd say for geared towards like mental health and stuff like that, like there's a lot of times where I've asked the question, why can't someone else be strong for me? Mm-hmm. If that is a question that you are asking, it is a failure of communication by you to someone else on what you need.
Dude, that might have been one of the bigger mic drops we've had in a while.
Yeah.
So failure of communication on your part. Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, Nick, thank you so much for coming up here and doing this. And
thanks for having me.
Thank you for stopping me in the parking lot and sparking this relationship.
Mind you, I'd seen you like 4 other times, and I was like, no, he's got 500,000 followers. I can't do it. I can't do it. No, so I kind of fangirl from a distance. I was like, this is the perfect opportunity. Like,
and then you go home and tell your wife, I met this dude that I've been following for a while. He's a total putz. Like, he is not that cool.
But he didn't use that word.
Yeah.
I just pulled up the Veer video from last summer where you're like, that's so fast.
Yeah. That's like, I'm known for why are you going so fast? But, well, Nick, dude, thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for getting us in connection with War Trophy. You guys go check out War Trophy.
WarTrophy.com.
Yeah, WarTrophy.com.
WarTrophy.com.
Gear is live. Merch is live.
Yeah, we've got some merch. We're working on graphic tees right now. So we're gearing up for the June event. So you'll start seeing that, and we actually have some cool partners that we're working with right now too. So we're rocking and rolling. You can find some of the gear right now, and then look out for graphic tees come June.
Sweet. Cool. Alrighty, guys. We'll check out War Trophy. We'll link all that stuff and how you can get in touch with them and with Nick, and we will catch you next week.
Toodles.